Have you ever wanted to run the Amazing Race? Well, if you're Canadian, sorry, you can't. It's for Americans only. What you can try is the Race to 2025. Since 2007, adventurers from across the country converge on Alberta to test their skills and raise money for a good cause.
Well, we have
Paul is a former linguist and motivational speaker for the 2008 Race to 2025.
It's an outdoor sporting adventure race that combines a couple of elements. It sort of tries to connect the idea of outdoor sporting. You know, we're talking about things like rafting, canoeing, mountain climbing, rappelling, mountain biking, all those kinds of things, with missions, and specifically with the goal to reach sort of lesser known or unreached people groups in remote parts of the world.
The race was founded in 2007 and is a ministry of Wycliffe Bible Translators, a Christian organization involved in Bible translation and literacy programs around the world.
The race was started by a guy named Daryl Friesen, who's a member of Wycliffe. He's also the director now for a ministry within Wycliffe Canada that we call Next Gen Ministries. And the mandate of Next Gen Ministries is really to try to connect with the next generation. Yeah, so he wanted to reach out to these people and put something together that would really get them engaged in missions in an active way. And he came up with the idea of the race.
The name of the race is taken from Wycliffe's Vision 2025 mission statement, which says that by the year 2025, they'll have started Bible translations for every language that needs it. There are 2 races per year, and each race is centered on a different country where Wycliffe currently operates. This year, it's Ghana and India.
It's a weekend, usually, so it's 2 days, and the teams are 4 people per team, and there's usually between 10 to 12 teams in a race. So you're looking at, somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 48 racers.
Each team must fundraise a minimum of $2,600 to support Wycliffe's work overseas, plus pay their way to Alberta where the race is held. Over the course of 2 days, teams compete against each other and the clock for prizes.
There is a race component, with a clock that's ticking, but there are also challenges along the way. And some of the challenges are sporting challenges, and some of the challenges are more intellectual and problem-solving challenges and that require teamwork and so forth.
And just like the television race it's modeled after, the Race to 2025 is no walk in the park, Paul says.
No, this is, the race is not easy. It's not a weekend getaway, but it is a lot of fun. And the teams really, I think, come away from it very changed. I mean, there are some risks involved, certainly. So people come back with some bruises and cuts and scrapes.
Well, that's a plus.
Josiah Page knows just how tough the race is. That's because he and 3 friends competed in this year's winter race.
A friend of mine and I have always had a dream that we'd go and do the Amazing Race, which is the big one on TV. But we were never able to just because we're Canadian citizens and it's only open to Americans and whatever. And so we've never done it. And so when this opportunity presented itself, it was kind of like a sign to us that, we need to do this.
Page admits he underestimated the race because he's a big guy and plays hockey. He nearly gave up on the very first day when teams had to climb a mountain with 30 pounds of gear strapped to their backs.
And so at first you're like, oh, it can't be that bad. You're just walking up. You can see the top of the mountain, so how bad can it be? But then you get a quarter of the way up, and it's like, wow, I still got 3/4 to go. And then you get halfway up, and it's like, I don't think I can do this. And 3/4, you're like thinking about going back down, and so it really was a test of both mental and physical strength.
And while the mental challenges broke up the more physical aspects of the race, Page says they weren't easy either.
Along the way up the mountain, they had different things like we had to translate a map and how to cross Beijing using a bus schedule, and so without using the English translation. I remember other challenges where who can build a fire the fastest with only 2 matches, but the fire has to snap a string that's 3 feet up off the ground.
Though climbing the mountain was a challenge, reaching the top wasn't the only reward, he says.
We all just took time and we took 5 or 6 minutes just to sit there, look around, take some pictures, and just really appreciate God's handiwork, essentially. Because most of us, we all went to school in Manitoba, and it's all flat, and so being on a mountain that's however many thousands of feet above sea level was something really special for us.
Page says while the race taught him how much he could endure physically, it also taught him a lesson about his faith.
I would say it kind of helped me to see some areas of weakness in my life, in the sense that I was being a bit cocky, and I was being a bit, oh, I can do it, no problem, and it kind of brings you back to reality, in the sense that, what, it doesn't matter how big you are or how big you think you are, God's still bigger.
And after experiencing it for himself, he'd like more people, especially young people, to get in on the adventure.
If you enjoy adventure sports and you believe in God and you want to do something good for the Lord's work, or for the Lord, I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to be able to do both. Give back and help raise some money for Bible translation, at the same time have a lot of fun.
Although his team didn't win, he's hoping to give it another shot.
I'm trying to convince a couple of guys to go with me in the next January race. I was going to go to the fall one, but it didn't work out. So I'd like to go back for the January race for sure.
The Race to 2025 isn't just about the extreme challenges. There's also a linguistic component. The point is to show racers what it's like to try and communicate in parts of the world where no common language exists. Linguists like Paul are brought in to show racers just how to do that.
The people who you are ministering to, and the people whose language you're surveying, they may not speak a common language that you speak. They may not know any English. So you need strategies and techniques to elicit the information that you want without resorting to English or some other shared language. And I give them a brief demonstration where, in the space of about half an hour, just using some simple props, some stones, some sticks, and using gestures and so forth, I elicit words from the speaker of another language who I don't know.
The process is called language survey, and before Bible translation or literacy programs can begin, missionaries are sent into some of the most remote parts of the world to collect data.
In reality, we don't know exactly how many languages are spoken in the world. We have ideas of approximate figures, but in many parts of the world, the linguistic nature of that area is totally uncharted and undocumented. Usually it's about a 2-year commitment, and you go through some training, and then you're sent out on teams, and they'll backpack through village. It's very rugged, very rough work. Often you're in very uncharted territory, you're off the map, you're making the map.
And to give the race a real authentic flavor, organizers set up mock villages for the racers to find, complete with food and nationals.
This project we were sponsoring was in Ghana, Africa, and we got a whole troop of Ghanaian folks out there, and it was winter. It was a winter race, so we actually constructed a hut, a thatch roof hut out in the mountains in the snow. The Ghanaian speakers, or whatever language group it happens to be, are instructed, pretend you don't speak any English. When the racers come into the village, you just speak your language and interact with them, but if they talk to you in English, just shake your head, you don't understand.
Since 2007, the race has raised more than $110,000 for Wycliffe projects around the world. But the fundraising, says Paul, isn't the most important thing.
So we see it also as a way of really engaging with the next generation, with the emerging generation, and in a meaningful way, getting them involved. It's much more meaningful to participate in something, a fundraiser like this, especially something that's tough and that requires a real commitment and a lot of work, than it is, to just write a check or drop some money in a basket or something.
To make sure the racers understand that it isn't just about winning, organizers give each group jerseys with special team names.
And the teams are named after language groups overseas who will be benefiting directly from their efforts. So each team takes the name of a language group, of a people group, and that's printed on the back of their shirt. And as they're out there racing, they're carrying this sort of metaphorically or symbolically, they're carrying this people group on their backs as they're out there slugging it out.
And though they'll slug it out during the race, Paul hopes racers will come away from the challenge with an appreciation of how valuable Bible translation and literacy development is.
Certain kinds of ministry just can't be done in short term. The average project may be anywhere from 10 to 20 years. So for us, to see an emerging generation who is really interested and is willing to sacrifice and willing to really put themselves into something, even though the race is a short-term thing, it's a taste, it's a start. And we hope that some of them will really get the taste and go in for this longer term.
The next Race to 2025 will be held in February of 2010. To find out more about the Race to 2025 or Wycliffe Bible Translators, visit crossroads.ca and click on Guest Information. In Waterloo, Ontario, I'm Bridget Entry for 100 Huntley Street.